The overarching passionate prayer is stop it, just stop it, just stop it. I just want to be okay. I don't care. I just want to be okay. And that's exactly what you can't do. Really. When you run light through a prism, it refracts. So pure light makes a spectrum. This spectrum is easily divisible in multiple patterns. They're all mathematical. When you identify consciousness with any one of these rays, hues, you are explicitly becoming conscious within a partial system. If I identify with red, that red energy exists in direct relationship to the rest of the rainbow that was refracted through the prism. I can go about my lifetimes on this vibration, unaware that the way my core frequency changes affects other core frequencies somewhere. And then we write cultures on these vibrations, and we create ways of thinking and being and patterns of reality and boundaries. All written on the palette of different hues of light. And then these hues are brought together. They're drawn towards each other. In the same way, when you refract light into a rainbow, you can redirect it with mirrors back into the prism, back into unity, and you'll get pure light again. This is what's happening. And yet, as this happens, all the different unique rules that are written on the different hues come into contact, and they contradict. And people are conscious on blue and conscious on yellow. And as the energies draw together, they start to say, wait, you're breaking my rules. Wait, you're breaking my rules. Wait, you're shaking my world just by being close to me. And in the same way, this is happening within each of us. As above, so below. We've been able to identify with individual hues within ourselves. And we've been able to isolate hues that are not in alignment. And in many cases, that includes wounds, traumas. And as these wounds and traumas are drawn towards us, it's like life is getting worse. Everything's getting worse. This sucks. I remember what it felt like to not have to feel this. And it's crucial to embrace the sense that this is more than progress. This is the way. There is no other way. There is no other way, but we can fight against the way. We can struggle against it. We can resist it. We can attempt to get leverage to change it. We can attempt to establish dominance patterns between another color. Now, externally in the world, what this will look like is someone who's centered on red will look at someone who's centered on blue and say, you made a mistake. Do you remember that mistake you made, blue? And blue will say, hey, red, you have a terrible problem over there. And red will say, you made a mistake. And blue will say, you have a problem. And red will, and they just go back and forth, identifying each other's troubles, identifying why not to trust. And this happens within us. Within us, we look at those aspects that are coming towards us, those aspects that are uniting, and we say, no way. That destroys everything I'm trying to do. No way. When I try to embrace that, it ruins all of it. I lose my conscious intention. I lose my strength. I can't think clearly. I don't want to do this. I want to go back. I want to go back to this other time when it worked, when it was simpler. A long time ago, I met a woman in a party after I gave him a performance. It was a questionable performance. I didn't do very well. It was weird. And she came up and met me when I was done, and she was kind. And we talked right in the middle of the room. After my performance, the gathering turned into a party. And she told me a story, and I didn't understand why she was telling me at first, and then I got it much later. She said there's a house, and it's full of rooms. And they're room after room and after room, and there's like some hallways, but some of them are just doors into more rooms and doors into more rooms. And the rooms are slowly falling apart. And as a room falls apart, you kind of panic and you have to try to get out of that room, but you don't know which direction to go in. And you have to try a couple doors. And in some directions, it's getting worse. It's falling apart more completely. And you have to keep choosing to move towards spaces that are stronger, have more clarity. And eventually the old rooms fall completely. And if we keep anything in those old rooms in our mind, if we identify anything as important as us, but it's in one of these rooms that are falling apart, our life gets worse. If we cling to a memory of when life worked, that's in one of these rooms that is deteriorating, our very essence will feel like we're dying. And it is. In a very real way, it is. Dying. To dye something is to change its color. When we've lived our whole life with the stability of a hue, of a basic hue that we know as ourself, and this hue starts to change color, it's a death. And it feels like death. And it's supposed to feel like death. But if we identify with the part that's dying more than the part we're becoming, it's going to be a lot harder. So the challenge is to open to who you're becoming. How do you do that? Just like that. You say, who am I becoming? Then you direct that. Who do you trust? Now, in this case, I won't say it doesn't matter. It matters. But start with God, a non-gendered, ephemeral unity, another being who looks like us, a spirit that flows through all of us. Trinity, it's powerful. God's beyond anything we understand. So don't pretend you can get one vision. Trinity, a giant father, mother in the sky, a being that you can look at who is a beacon, an example of who you can be, like Jesus. Or spirit that flows through all of you, unites us all. It's all this. But the world, that's a little overwhelming for some. So then you choose a divine being, a being you know you can trust. And you say, who am I becoming? Now here we reorient on this rhythm, this key ring, thought to us by Thoth. He's not opposed to all these other angels. Works quite coherently with Mary Magdalene and Michael and Christ. But to return to a standard is like tuning our instruments before we play. That's why we do this, attunement. And then you ask again, who am I becoming? And you don't get a mental answer first. The second you ask, who am I becoming? Something happens. The Spirit's here. Imagine it. The second you ask, who am I becoming? It lights up a spark in your heart. See it in your heart. Maybe you can feel it, maybe you can't. Then you say, this, I trust this. I can't see it, I can see it. I can't feel it, maybe I can feel it. But whether you can or can't, it's here. Who you are becoming is here. And now the goal is to trust this, to become it more fully, to become it in our lives. And as we do, the traumas come to the surface more distinctly. Lost dreams come to the surface very prominently. You get new energy, and all of a sudden it's time to record that album you meant to do 7 years ago. It's time to write that book you thought of when you were 14, or paint that painting that you really saw vividly but never got around to. And you know what? In my experience, that's usually not what you're supposed to do. Sometimes it is, but usually those dreams are in the old rooms. They're falling back to the earth. You got to give them back to the earth and say, what's a dream for now? And the more it works, the more the other junk will come to the surface. It's a direct relationship. The more you turn on your energy, the more you get life to flow through you, the more the other things will get drawn to the surface. And it is one of the most challenging things in human experience to sit in the face of the worst feelings. Death-defying, suicidal, murderous, horrendously torturous feelings. Numbness, emptiness, inability to feel, loss of every relation to reality. And to sit in the face of such things and say, yep, let's keep going. No, the overarching passionate prayer is stop it, just stop it, just stop it. I just want to be okay. I don't care. I just want to be okay. And that's exactly what you can't do. Really. You can't just pray to be okay. You have to pray for who you're becoming. Nothing else will work. Nothing else will be okay. There's no other okay. There's no other resting spot. There's no other center that's going to last. And it's the practice. That's why it's called practice. All you do is add to your practice a deeper and deeper infusion of a prayer for who you're becoming. And you weave it throughout. And you definitely begin and end with it. I am practicing to create, to bring to life the presence of the spirit that I'm embodying. I am practicing to unify. Yoga means union with God. That's what yoga means. We are practicing to unify our spirit, to bring together the many colors of ourself. And you can't pick and choose. You can't say, I want to unify all except for that hurt loss space. That's too difficult to deal with. Just cut that off. Doesn't work. And then you just bring it back right to the heart. You've been practicing this a lot, right? So do it now. This is the answer to all the weird questions that just came up during the past 10 minutes. Any weird question you had, any fear's a question. Any anger is a question. This is the first answer. Breathe in your heart. And the goal is to remember to do this when it's most difficult to do this. That is why you're practicing.